What is up, everybody? I'm Jeff.
I'm Bethany.
Welcome to the Horror Fiend. Again, another exciting episode of Stuff and Shit. Today, as promised, we are doing another slasher of the month because we haven't been doing them. We missed a month, so we're trying to make sure we keep up. I was a dumbass and thought we were doing a worst to best for some reason, so I literally went and watched all of this particular person's movies, and that's my bad. But at least now I can talk about it a little bit better and hopefully be okay. So, Bethany, go ahead and tell the lovely boils and ghouls who the slasher of the month is.
So the slasher of the month is Leatherface. Dun, dun, dun. Fancies.
That Ed Gein guy.
The loosely
Loosely
related to.
So yeah,
they like to make furniture out of teeth and whatnot. So
skin. Yeah, that is the slasher of the month. We're gonna go into good old country boy Leatherface. Like I said, I was prepared to do a worst to best, so I had to get out of that mindset because I was so focused on it. And but yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Leatherface. Like there's that argument of, well, technically Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw came out before Halloween did. And so he's the first slasher, even though I disagree because there's a big difference. But I mean, he's a classic. Everywhere you go, if there is a Mount Rushmore of horror, pretty sure Leatherface would be on it. He would have to be. I always picture the Mount Rushmore of horror being Michael, Freddy, Jason, Ghostface, and Leatherface. That pretty much sums up the slasher genre pretty damn well. And you can't have all of them without having Leatherface or whatever the fuck they call him in the movies, Tommy or
a Jeb. Was Jeb one of them?
Yeah, Jeb I think was one of them. Tommy was one of them. Yeah, so many different names. It's like fucking pick one. Is he Jeb Tom or is he Tom Jeb? What the fuck's going on? Yeah, so starting off with it, go ahead and tell everybody what's your personal favorite kill from the franchise? Because I know we always touch up on that.
Okay, so reviewing all of the movies again, there was a trend I saw in each one. Okay, being put on a meat hook.
Yep.
And then being hacked with a chainsaw.
So,
I mean, it's his signature. So I'm going to have to go with the original 74 version. And when he puts Pam on the meat hook, I mean, that just the whole scene with her, when he put Pam on the meat hook and then, puts her in the freezer and all of that. So that whole scene is my favorite. I like it when he puts her on the meat hook. But, it's pretty much the same. Meat hook, chainsaw, hammer, mallet.
Yeah, he's pretty basic. It's one of the things where a lot of people will complain about it. Oh, he does the same kills, this, that, or the other. But I kind of find it slightly refreshing. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love the innovation that Michael and Freddy and Jason and all of them have. Those ones really have innovative kills. I'm not gonna say Ghostface has innovative kills because he really doesn't either. He sticks to a very simple formula as well. And I actually like that about Leatherface. I like that they stick to a simpler formula when it comes to what he does. He's very obvious, very what's going to happen. You're dead. And for me, I have to agree. In almost every movie, it's always chain hooks, and he always puts them up there. And I mean, that's gruesome. I just picture that, and I'm like, oh, that goddamn, that has to hurt.
Yeah.
And then you just torture him in one of the, I think it was the remake when he chops off part of the blonde dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he how he throws the salt on it and cleans
and it rubs
up
it in the wound and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very professional because in all the movies, the family worked at like a slaughterhouse, and he worked at a slaughterhouse, and so what you see a lot. So like how he treats his victims is pretty much how he would
How
treat
they
the
worked.
cows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
and
mean,
so I think that's really cool.
essentially, well, they're cannibals. So, like, with the kills they have, that's their food.
Yeah,
That's their
they're
barbecue. So it works perfectly. So I have no issue with the meat hooks and the mallets and the chainsaw. Well, I love chainsaws. So I like,
yeah.
I was a huge, huge fan of the original. I used to rent it all the time when I was younger. Just that was one movie I rented, and then I would do like two new ones. And I like the sound of the chainsaw. I like, the end scene, of course,
Oh
with
yeah.
the sunset and everything. Like it's a beautiful scene at the end, and it's fun. And of course, who isn't a Gunnar Hansen fan?
Right, Gunner is awesome. Definitely a great portrayal. Probably the best, honestly. And I agree, though. I think my favorite scene in any of the Texas Chainsaws, my favorite scene is from the original, and it's when the sun's rising because she survived the whole ordeal, and she lived through it, so she gets on that truck and they're getting arraigned, and she's being all hysterical because here comes Leatherface still, and then
Mm-hmm.
just seeing him like he starts dancing and swinging the chainsaw around and that whole little thing. I just like that's an iconic scene in its own right. Like
Yeah.
when people think of that movie, that's like one of those scenes that's always at the top of their list. And like for me, I mean, throughout the entire franchise, there's been some shitty ass movies in the franchise, but like that scene, that movie has stood like the test of time. And the one cool thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like with how many movies there are, and knowing that you expect like similar kills or almost the same thing, like every movie you watch except for like Next Generation because that was absolute fucking horseshit. Um, and that's coming from me. I love Matthew McConaughey, and he's in that fucking movie.
All right. All
And
right. All right. Which he says in the movie.
yeah, and like Dazed and Confused. Speaking of that, that's like one of my all-time favorite fucking movies. And so I love Matthew McConaughey, but that movie is just hot garbage. Um, but still, there's still some kills in there that are pretty cool. There's kills that are like okay, little bit different, not just Leatherface. And I do like how like it's almost like Freddy's glove. So like in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's glove, for those of you who didn't know, it always like slightly changes. It always upgrades throughout the series. It's never been the same. I think maybe it was the same in 1 and 2, but after that it changed. Like every movie, it was almost a different glove. It was a different model of his glove. And like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the cool things is like I love how I like always like his chainsaws always differ and differ and differ. And it's I remember I think it's in part 3. Part Yeah, it's part 3 I think, where he has like this big ass giant
Mm-hmm.
fucking gnarly fucking chainsaw, and I'm like that I'd be fucking terrified of because things like almost 5 feet big. It's like goddamn, that thing's gonna shred you apart. But yeah, like I don't know, I don't know. It's just with Leatherface, I feel bad because he's like the one person with the movies that I haven't watched as much as all the others. I've watched the Scream franchise at least 100 times over. Nightmare probably more than that. Friday the 13th around the same. Halloween the most. And like I haven't invested as much time into it as I should. And I think a reason why is when I was younger and I heard about that whole Ed Gein thing, I legitimately thought that whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing was fucking legit, like real, and I didn't want to step foot into fucking Texas because of it. And now I go every year, lo and
Now you
behold. But
go once a year. Yeah.
and so I think that's why I never really watched them as much as all the other ones, because the other ones, while Michael Myers and Ghostface feel the most real because they're just humans. Um, Leatherface, there's just something about him, because I heard based off a true story, and I was like, well, no, 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 fuck that. It's like Fire in the Sky, that movie that I talked about like a month ago or so. I haven't watched that movie since I was a kid. I only watched it one time. It scared the fuck out of me. I'll never watch it again because that shit is like based on a true story, an alien abduction and getting probed in the ass. Like fuck that. So
And it's funny, as the movies that freaked me out when I was a kid, those are the ones that became my favorites that I obsessively watched over and over again. And then they still kind of creep me out. So, and Texas Chainsaw was one of them, but my mom kind of aided in that though. We used to drive by her work and it was just like this big land area. And we would always pass that by on her way to work. And if we were like late at night for like a little work party or something that they could bring the family to, she'd be like, that's where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre people live now. That's where they
I
live
mean,
now. And she would
there's the
like,
house.
yeah, and she would like try to creep me out even more, which honestly, it made it fun. And it's a memory I'm always going to have. But when I was younger, I was like, oh, I would get so creeped out. And I was like, oh no, let's go. Don't roll up the window, roll up the window. So it was a lot of fun. So she, kind of heightened it for me, but I loved it. I used to watch the original one. I watched a lot and I did like Leatherface. I liked him a lot. And the second one I also watched a lot. But in the second one, it was Chop Top. But this is a Leatherface video.
Chop Top is awesome.
He is, but you kind of feel kind of bad for Leatherface too, because in every single movie, I think even with the exception of maybe the newest one, Leatherface gets picked on so much in every movie because he's the simple one, he's the dumb one, he's the one that gets hit, he's the one that gets verbally abused through every movie. So you feel kind of bad for him, and you kind of like want to see him wielding that chainsaw around, get some of that out.
Yeah, I mean, they make it seem, especially in the newer movies, like they pretty much all but confirm that he's like mental retardation, and so he's a few slices short of a loaf, obviously, but he does get picked on, and that's one of those things that like you feel for him, especially in the later movies. Like in the earlier movies, you don't really know, you're just going based off of what you're seeing. But in the later movies, they actually, when they get more in depth with his background and the history of him and the shit that happened to him, like I think I might be wrong. If I am wrong, you guys can correct me. But I think it was like in Texas Chainsaw 3. Um, it's the one that had like the axes or the saws family going across the chainsaw. I think there's a scene in that movie where like he has to reach into the fire because I can't remember what character, I can't remember who it was, but they make him like reach his hand into the fire to grab something because he messed up, and like you feel legitimately bad for him because it's like that's not right. Yeah, he's going out killing people, but he's also doing it because he thinks that's like what I've come together is like he thinks it's like the right thing to do because that's what his family's asking him to do. This is how they survive. It's what he knows. And like in the later movies, you start feeling for him. Not the remake, and I really enjoyed the remake. Jessica Biel kicked ass in that, and the guy who played Hoyt was fucking amazing. Um, but like the movies after that, like it was, I know it was the one where two brothers are going to Vietnam, and that was like Texas Chainsaw: The Beginning, I think is what it was called, where
Yeah.
it's where Hoyt kills the sheriff to become the sheriff, and
Yeah.
then and all that shit. And so in that one, you start hearing more about the background. You start hearing more about what happened to him, and then in 3D, that one gets really, really deep into the history of them because in that one you hear about how these people came and they killed his entire fucking family pretty much. He
Mm-hmm.
was the only survivor. Him and his what winds up becoming his cousin, if I remember. Yeah, it's his cousin. They're the only two survivors, and you wonder why he's so fucking like against the world and hates everybody. And You know, they kind of make a story because in that one, back like how it all started was he killed people. Like they went off of the original movie, so like he did those killings and everything else, and then people wanted justice, so they were coming, and that whole fucking firefight happened, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of his family winds up getting killed. And yeah, like in a way, like, and I don't like. It's like he's special needs technically, like
Well,
he
until you
just
get into
had
the
bad like
Leatherface prequel, where it's like a prequel, it's like the beginnings of Leatherface.
actual, yeah, Leatherface. The
And that
movies,
one, he was very not simple
yeah,
or anything along those lines. So then it makes you wonder, like, oh, okay, like we're all feeling bad for him, but maybe not. Maybe he's just a sadistic killer,
right.
which honestly, I kind of like it more that way. I think it's more fun
I
that way.
I do and I don't at the same time because we see that everywhere in every horror movie. It's almost the same formula, and so having a more tragic background, like don't get me wrong, okay, like Michael Myers, when they tried giving him a background, that annoyed the fuck out of me because he just was, he that's just how he was, and there was no connection, just one day he decided to snap and shit happens, and then but like Freddy, Freddy was a killer before he became the man of your dreams, and Jason saw his mom get her head chopped off, so of course he's gonna avenge his mommy because he has mommy issues, and because everybody has like they're automatically just like bad and doing their thing, which I mean, don't get me wrong, I fucking love it. But Leatherface, when they started giving him a little bit more depth and you actually feel bad for him and you start feeling sorry, because he's doing what he thinks is good, like that I actually really liked. I thought that was a good aspect to add to it. I thought it was a good element because it was fresh. It was something that we're not totally used to seeing like everything else. And so I don't know. I think that the people who make the movies obviously they have issues because they can't get the fucking backstory straight. There's like three different backstories.
Yeah,
And
they switch it around. I don't know. Personally, I really like that he's just doing it for food. This is just like a job for him. He doesn't
yeah,
see them as, human beings. He sees them as food and furniture and a
yeah,
mask. So, which is my favorite. I love the scenes where he's sewing the masks, where he's putting them together, where he's trying them on. In the remake, when he's the boyfriend and he turns around and he's just so perfect.
just the
You could
booth. Yeah,
tell exactly who it was. That I dig the mask the most out of everything in the movies.
yeah, and I like how like I mean obviously they're all different, but I just like how he kind of like brings different little personalities with each one too. And sometimes people don't pick up on that, but like every time he puts on a mask, he has like a slightly different personality each time, or he'll add a wig to it, or just changes it up a little bit. Like there is when he wears a suit or wearing his butcher outfit, like it's always different, and I dig that. And then like the cool thing too is like I so one of my things that I could say about certain remakes is I love the level of aggressiveness they do bring back. So like with that movie you're talking about, the one with where he puts the boyfriend face on, that's the one with Jessica Biel. That's the remake. And like I like how more he's aggressive in that. Like he's really aggressive. He's a bigger dude. He looks intimidating. It's kind of like in Friday the 13th when they brought in that remake, that guy who played Jason, he was bigger, and they made it to where Jason wasn't stupid, and
Mm-hmm.
he was a hunter because like this is where he spent all of his life was in that Crystal Lake. He was around that area, and he learned it, and like just how much more aggressive they made him, and how fast they made him, and I like how they did that with Leatherface in the remake because like that is something that I like. I like seeing because like he's a big guy. He's not small or anything else. He's a big dude, and so seeing like that level of aggression because you go back and you watch the original movies, And then you watch that remake or any of the newer movies, like that aggression level that he has. You know, it's a more. I don't even know if it's really an aggression level. It's just more so like of an intimidation factor. Like it's more intimidating, and I definitely respect that too. I think that's awesome, and um, obviously Leatherface, he deserves all the love, man. Like for me, like I said, it's not even about the kills. There's scenes in those movies that I just absolutely love. It's not even the kills necessarily. It's how they do certain scenes. Like it still blows my mind. Like I said earlier, my favorite scene is that whole little dance scene he does at the end of the first movie where he's swinging the chainsaw around all happy, and, you know. And then like that movie has a lot of jump scares too, which is cool. Like the series itself has a lot of jump scares. Like I think it was in the remake or something where he just comes out of fucking nowhere, man, and grab. I think it was like he grabbed a trucker or something. Yeah, I might be wrong. It might have been like some other type, but he like fucking just comes out of nowhere and kills him. And I was like, son of a bitch, you know, like they do good with that. Like I always expect them though, so it's never gotten me. But I definitely think that Leatherface is one of the most underrated of all the slashers. I really do. Like
And he's just
everybody,
as much of a pervert as Freddy. A little bit. I don't know if you caught it in the movie. So you have in the part 2 when he was getting a little frisky with his chainsaw.
and I was just the shade too. Because I remember it wasn't like the girl like flirting with him a little bit, and he was getting excited about it, and
Yeah,
like
yeah. And then he starts like revving it, and yeah, we all got that.
that's his way of yeah.
And then apparently in one of the movies, I'm trying to see on my notes which one it was. It was, I think it was the Next Generation one where he had a kid. Leatherface had a
Maybe,
kid. Yeah, like
maybe.
it said he
I
had
don't
a kid
know.
on there, and they pretty much one of the brothers had implied that Leatherface was taking advantage of some of the women, and a kid came out of it.
Maybe
So
that's
yeah,
interesting.
apparently Leatherface is a daddy. So there you go. Fun fact.
Yeah, like some of those movies, like I said, there's some of those are just hard to watch. Like that movie is hard to watch. That's
And
like
I think it was Next Generation. Either that or it was the no. I don't think it was the third one. I think it was Next Generation. So the fourth one.
it, it might have been. I'm about to go back again and watch them and
And
pinpoint it out.
it's a little blonde girl, and she keeps like they're at the table or when they're at like their little kitchen table, and she like sits on his lap and stuff like that, and they're having a conversation about it,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
know
where they bring it up.
the little blonde girl's actually in part three.
Is it 3 then? Yeah, I didn't know if it
Yeah,
was 3 or 4.
yeah, part three. I actually like part three is one of my favorite ones. Like it really is. Like for me, it's probably like in my top five, top six. Like it's actually a decent movie. It's but next
Oh,
gen
you
was
know what?
horrible. Next,
You're right. You're right. It is part 3. Yeah, because I wrote on there that he has a daughter with a question mark. Like, oh,
yeah, I never thought that was his daughter, but yeah, the little blonde girl, she's in part three, and part three is actually a pretty cool movie. That's the one I was telling you about, where he has to like stick his hand in the fire to grab. I can't remember what the hell it was. It was to grab something, and it's really fucked up, but it's a good movie. I might be wrong too. It might not have been him. It might have been somebody else they had to put in there, but it was like I watched all of them in less than a week, so like everything's just jumbled in my head. So I might not be getting everything, but
and I can only remember bits and pieces of at least 3, 4. I remember the remake pretty well, but
yeah.
those ones I'm like, it's iffy. But I only watched them like once or twice, like a long time ago.
I could already tell when we do the worst to best on this one. There's gonna be words. Words are gonna be said, but I don't know. I think the remake itself was really good. Not the best, but deserving of the top five easily. Um, but
Oh, did you
that's
know, like a fun fact, did you know that the one that played, and I can't say his last name, so I'm not going to even try, but the one who played Leatherface in the remake, and Gunnar Hansen had some shade going on.
Did they really?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Damn, I
there was
didn't
like
know
a
that.
little bit of a tension between them, and I don't know how or where it started. I got to look into it more because I just came across it, and yeah, they had a back and forth going on there for a while.
That's
I
crazy.
think there is even a clip of Gunnar Hansen kind of making fun of him and like saying like he couldn't close the door. You know, he
Oh
was like, "Oh,
Jesus,
this is how he does it," and then he was like, "And this is how it's supposed to be done." So it's go look that up. That was fun. I was laughing. But yeah,
that's funny.
they had a little battle going on. So I think there was like another one that did too, like where it was like a remake versus original, but I don't remember who
Might
it
have to check
was
it out. I'd
when I
love to
find
see a
it.
remake versus. I'd love to see a remake versus original for Nightmare. I think that'd be funny. Who's gonna win that one? I wonder.
Gee, I wonder who would win.
2010 remake, chess play. But yeah, guys, that's the slasher of the month. Um, he's awesome. Sorry, I almost like lost my words. I was looking at my notes down here. He's awesome. He definitely deserves his spot. He deserves more love. And we will be doing a worst to best. Um, we might actually do worst to best on our next video. Um, if we do, obviously we'll let you guys know. Um, or we do have an interview coming up, and as long as everything goes according to schedule, as of right now, it will be in 2 weeks, give or take. So that's the big one. So look forward to that. Um, Also, little news outside of the slash of the month, since we have a little bit of time to kill. Um, there are two steelbooks getting released for their Best Buy exclusives. One of them is the original Halloween, and the steelbook looks fucking amazing. I'm getting it. And the other one is it's one of the Evil Deads. I can't remember exactly which one, but I know it's one of the Evil Deads. There's a steelbook of that coming out as well that Best Buy is doing. So if you guys want those, you could probably pre-order them now. I figured I'd throw that in here since, like I said, we have time to kill and it's horror related. So obviously, try to keep up with the horror news. And we've been getting more subscribers. So everybody who subscribed, I say to really thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Sorry,
Oh,
this video is
and
gonna.
we are on Slasher now, the Slasher
Yes,
app.
what she said. So it's like Facebook for horror junkies. Go look us up. It's the Horror Fiend HQ, I believe. So you
Yep,
can
just
find
the
us
horror
on
fiend.
there.
Yeah, just the horror fiend on that one.
So we're on there. So you guys will see us there. Soon enough, we'll be on Twitter, and yeah, we're keeping going. But we've gotten more subscribers. Uh, People have been I guess they liked that video from last week with the editing and all that. Um,
That was
Sorry for the
fancy
choppy
fun. Thank you,
edit.
editor. Thank you. That was fun. I loved watching it.
Yeah, like I didn't expect it either because what I originally wanted him to do, and then he was like, "Hey, I kind of went ham on it a little bit. I hope you don't mind." And I was like, "I'm gonna trust you, and I'm just gonna upload it. I'm not even gonna watch it. I'm just gonna upload it, and then I'll see." And I was not disappointed. I was very happy with the way everything turned out. And apparently, people were liking it, so that's pretty cool. I'm happy everybody liked it. I know the video quality itself was kind of choppy. We're using Skype. Skype is not the best. We might switch to Zoom at some point, but for now, this has been working fairly well as long as you guys can hear us and it's not like crazy laggy. That's all that matters. And but yeah, guys, again, thank you for the subscriptions. We appreciate it. Um, we're gonna try my really hard to bust up to 500 at least by the end of the year. I'm hoping we can hit 500 by then, and then just go from there. I am working on other interviews with other people. I have been reaching out to a lot of people. I pretty much have interviews sealed up for the rest of the year. That's all I'm going to say. So, some of the people that are going to be on this show, you guys are going to be very happy. And just me doing what I can. If I was a little laggy, or not laggy, but like slow during this video, it's because I'm nursing a hangover. I won't lie. I drank yesterday with my buddy, and then after, and so that's why we didn't record yesterday. That's why this video is going to be a little bit late, is because I was not able to. Like, you guys would have been laughing your asses off at me if I would have recorded last night, because I was all over the place, according to my cousin. I was very, and so I've been drinking water nonstop. So if I was a little laggy or repetitive, I'm sorry, but deal with it. I'm human, and yeah.
And it's late right now.
But yeah, it
It's
is.
late
It's
right
like
now.
almost
We're tired.
yeah. But you guys, just thank you for all the support. We're gonna keep coming. We will be back again Sunday doing our thing. Once we decide what kind of video we were doing, for sure, I'll post it on the Facebook. And yeah, that's that. So, with that said, on behalf of the Horror Fiend, I am Jeff.
I'm Bethany.
Until next week, guys, we will see you when we see you. And peace.